manok, bagas, 멀리 따래? He wrote this 200 years ago in Korea. 1801, about 200 years ago, Korea. Not Korea, at the time it was Joseon Dynasty. One day, 5 foreigners arrived at the Jeju Island after drifting in the sea, maybe typhoon or something. But they didn't understand Korean, of course, Chinese, Japanese. So Joseon Dynasty government gave up communicating with them. So they sent them to China because they thought maybe Chinese people can understand them. But Chinese people, they said, we don't know. We don't understand them. So they ended having no choice but to live in Korea. By the way, 9 years later, one Korean guy came to Jeju Island to help them. Amazingly, he understood what they said, and he said they are from the Philippines. Filipinos, they were so surprised and they cried and yelled that they can come back home finally. So how on earth that Korean could understand Filipino language at that time, 200 years ago in Joseon Dynasty? This very interesting story begins in 1801. He was a fish trader. He bought fishes on island and back to land and sold them. And one day he met a typhoon on the sea, so he drifted. A few days later, he arrived at the Okinawa. Yeah. At that time, Joseon Dynasty and Okinawa had an agreement for a drifting fisherman because of typhoon or something. So Okinawa government, they supported the fisherman, the food and houses. So he lived there about 8 months. So he left Okinawa by boat to come back to Korea through China at the time. But he met a typhoon again in the sea. After the crisis of death and drifting, he arrived at the Yeosong. You know what Yeosong is? Chinese character pronunciation, Korean style pronunciation of Luzon. Yeah, so he arrived in Luzon, Philippines. Yeah. But unlike Okinawa, Joseon Dynasty and Luzon, Philippines, there was no agreement about fishermen drifting or something. So he had to survive for about 9 months by making rope. Yeah. Not just only surviving, he also observed many things, cultural things. According to his record, he says, in Luzon, man cooks. Unlike Korea, in Joseon Dynasty, even men were not allowed to go inside kitchen. Anyway. And the kitchen is far from the house. Maybe in case of fire, he wrote like that. They put rice and dishes on the center of table and they eat together. And they always use chairs, unlike Korea at the time. And he also talked about churches in Vigan and Manila. As you know, Vigan and Manila at the time was very developed city because of Spanish things. For him, it was kind of cultural shock. Wow, what is this? He also observed the chicken on the rooftop of church building. And he said the chicken turns around by the wind direction. So nowadays, people guess maybe he visited the Vigan. The look of the building and the street is very similar to his record. And surprisingly, for 9 months, he learned language, Filipino language there. Ilocano, not Tagalog. There are some records about it. If you are Ilocano, please try to understand. This is what he wrote at the time. Tanum, casa, tabaco. This is easy. Cinco, biasabi, shinda, manok. This is Tagalog too. Bagas, 멀리 따래? Yeah. He wrote this 200 years ago in Korea. Then he came back to Korea through Macau and China on foot. In total, after 3 years leaving his home, he came back to Korea. After coming back home, fortunately, he met a guy who were very interested in writing and recording something. He told the story to him and he recorded everything. That's why we can see what it's written, how it's written. As I said in the beginning of this video, he helped the Filipinos in Jeju Island. The king gave him a big prize for that. Okay, these days it's so difficult to visit the Philippines because of the COVID things, but Philippines is still one of the most visited countries by Koreans. And the first Korean, the first Korean who learned Filipino language. This is so interesting story. So I could not help making this video. So what do you think? He learned language just for 9 months and he interprets Filipinos in Jeju Island. But I have been living with Filipina for more than 10 years. Why my Tagalog still sucks?